Good evening, everyone. I now call to order the regular meeting of the Snowline Joint Unified School District Board of Trustees. Our first item is the community comments related to closed session. Do we have any comments?
No comments at this time. President Hernandez.
Very good. Thank you. With that information, we will convene to closed session. And thank you for rejoining us as the board reconvenes from closed session. There are no items to report out. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance for the presentation of our nation's colors. Tonight we bring to you Piñon Mesa Middle School. In the heart of Phelan, the Piñon Mesa Wolverines are led by Principal Kim Miller. The school site serves 715 students in grades 6 through 8. The crowning achievement of the Wolverines is the connections part of their mission statement, ABC, academics, behavior, and connectivity. The Piñon Mesa staff made it a priority this year to keep students connected while in the remote learning environment. Planned by the ASB students and attended by 97% of the teaching staff, along with a lot of support from the classified staff, Piñon Mesa has held events, some of them drive-through and some walk-through, at least once per quarter, which were designed to keep kids connected to the school. Over 75% of students have attended those events, such as Dress Your Best Picture Day and Spring Fling, among others. Thank you so very much to the Piñon Mesa Middle School Wolverines for being a great example of the Snowline family and with that connectivity, and for being tonight's School on Spotlight. Would you please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? Hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. That'll take us to community comments. Ms. Stapp, if you would read the policy on community comments.
I'd be so happy to if I can get there. I'm so sorry.
My apologies for moving so quickly there.
No, it's my fault. Doesn't wanna. Sorry. Come on. Okay. Regarding public comments, the board president or chairperson will invite citizens to speak on any items on the agenda. In the interest of fairness and efficiency, citizens will be asked to give their name and indicate the item they wish to address. Citizens will also be invited to make suggestions and identify concerns about matters affecting the schools which may not be on the agenda or suggest topics for future agendas. Any individual who has requested to speak to any item on the agenda may be granted up to 3 minutes to make a statement, with the total time devoted to statements not to exceed 15 minutes. Any individual who has requested to speak to an item not on the agenda may be granted up to 3 minutes to make a statement to the board, with the total time devoted to the topic of the statement not to exceed 15 minutes. Community comments may also be submitted online to be read before the board at the appropriate place on the agenda, with a time limit for reading of 3 minutes. 1 hour prior to the start of open session, a community comment may be submitted through the online process. The board president may, with board consent, increase or decrease the time allowed for public statements, depending on the topic and the number of speakers for or against a particular issue. The board president may rule on the appropriateness of the topic. If the topic would be more suitably addressed at a later time, the president may indicate the time and place when it should be presented. The board shall not prohibit public criticism of its policies, procedures, programs, services, acts, or omissions. In addition, the board may not prohibit public criticism of district employees.
All right, very good, thank you. Have we any in-person public comments tonight? Don't believe we received any cards on that.
No.
All right, have we any electronic comments?
Yes, we do, President Hernandez. Would you
please?
like me to read those?
Please do, thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Bub, all I see is good afternoon, everyone.
Oh yeah, sorry, Nance, just scroll down a few. There's no name in the email response. It's just at the bottom of that page.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Here it is. What is next year going to look like? Our kids deserve to be mask-free. It was an anonymous comment. Sorry. Took me a second there.
No problem.
And that is all the comments.
Oh, well, thank you for that. Okay, very good. That will take us to the adoption of the agenda. As you know, the board may remove items from the agenda as they see fit. Do any board members wish to remove items from the agenda at this time? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as it is presented?
I'll move approval.
Thank you, Member Berenger. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. And we'll take a roll call vote tonight. Member Flores?
Aye.
Member Berenger?
Aye.
Clerk Kalum?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. We've adopted the agenda for tonight's meeting. That takes us to consent motion. Are there any items in consent motion agenda that wish to be pulled for discussion?
No.
Do I have a motion to accept the consent motion agenda as it has been presented?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Member Flores. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Clerk Kalum. We'll take a roll call vote. Member Flores?
Aye.
Member Berenger?
Aye.
Clerk Kalum?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. We have just approved the minutes from the April 27, 2021 regular meeting of the Snowline Joint Unified School District Board of Trustees. We approved personnel motions, approve agreement of number 20/21-0206 for state preschool delegate agency addendum number 1. Approve resolution number 21-1485 for transfer of appropriations for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. Approval resolution number 21-1486 authorizing temporary interfund borrowing for the 2021-22 school year. Approval and ratification of the district financial transactions. Now taking us to item I1, business services. Mr. Chacon.
Yeah, thank you, President Hernandez. Tonight joining us is Mr. Stephen Gauld from California Financial Services. He's going to be providing us some information regarding a proposed amendment to two of our CFDs, CFD 2005-5 and 2005-7. I just want to say thank you for Steve making today the difficult drive up the pass through literally fire and traffic. Took him several hours to get here. We appreciate you coming here and providing us with an update and the information. So I'll turn it over to Steve, if you'd be so kind. Steve, I'll run your presentation for you on the board and just let me know as you want me to advance the screen.
Okay, thank you. I know I have a mask on, so if you can't hear me, just raise your hand and I'll speak up. As Robert said, what we have in front of us today is just some information on a proposed amendment to one of the district's existing CFDs, or two of the district's existing CFDs. So what we're doing this evening is simply bringing the board up to speed on kind of what the current situation is and what the amendments are and what the process kind of going forward is. So this evening there'll be no action item, but hopefully if we progress forward, you'll see a few action items on a couple of meetings coming up, and I'll cover that. Just as a point of information, not so much for the board, but potentially for the public here in attendance or watching on the internet. A community facilities district is a special taxing district that is voted on into a piece of property that's within a specific boundary. So in the cases of Snowline, many of the CFDs that were formed by Snowline include a single residential development. Think 100, 200, 300 residential units within the boundaries of the district. These are not taxes that apply broadly to all of the folks within the boundaries of your district. So the only folks getting affected by these CFDs or the others are just those that reside within these specific areas. So if you could turn to the first slide, Robert. So the property owners within two of the district's existing CFDs, 2005-5 and 2005-7 Improvement Area B, have come to the district to ask for your consideration in amending some of the terms and the parameters that were first put in place when the CFD was formed. As we get started, I wanted to give you a little bit of a background on the two CFDs. First, starting for CFD 2005-5, I've included within the packet and on the slideshow here a map showing the boundaries of the district. So remember, as I said, CFDs often only encompass a single development. And in this case, you can see here, there are a number, approximately 166 single family lots there that are encompassed within the CFD. The two large blocks on the right-hand side are actually zoned for commercial and industrial. And when they are developed pursuant to the CFD, they wouldn't actually pay the tax. They have a permit fee that they pay to the district. So what you're seeing here really in 5-5 is the totality of the future development. The CFD was formed in June of 2006. And at that time, the developer agreed to pay the district through the application of the CFD $5.88 per square foot for school mitigation. And in addition to that, finance approximately $9,500 in non-school facilities. In this case, they were Baldy Mesa water and sewer connection fees within the CFD. The taxes at the time that were voted on and approved by the property owner ranged from $2,967.50 to just a little under $3,500 per year. And those taxes can be applied, the tax starts to be applied once a home is built, and they can be levied under the current term all the way until 2050, 2051. The current owner of the property, it's a combination, but the entity really driving this process is D.R. Horton, which is a national home builder. And they have purchased half the property from the land developer, and they have options to purchase the balance. So in this case, this is a development that it's very likely, if we move forward with the amendment, we could see development within the community over the next 12 to 18 months. They're kind of ready to go, just trying to work a few components out. Again, no development and no bonds issued within the development at this point. On the next slide, same information, but for one back, Robert. For 2005-7 Improvement Area B, also formed on the same board date back in 2006, with a total of 291 planned residential lots. Same parameters for funding on both the school district as well as the Baldy Mesa component. Slightly higher tax rates, only because at the time they had expected to build much larger units within this development. So at the time, 2005-5 were smaller units. These were projected to be much larger. And like 2005-5, the final termination date in 2050-51, no current development, no bonds have been issued. Okay. So next slide. So let's get to the property owner's request. And both property owners are more or less requesting the same thing. So district staff and our team have kind of decided to move these folks together almost kind of as a pair, even though they've come separately. Number one, we think it's a little more efficient from the board's perspective as well as staff. But then also, we think it creates a better and more level playing field, given that these developments will be competing with each other. Homeowners within one versus the other should pay approximately or similar tax burdens. Demand for single-family homes in the Victorville area, which is where these developments are on the edge of your district, are really driven by affordability. And when we talk about affordability, in instances in Southern California, it really has two components. One component is the home price, which we're all very familiar with, and the other component is the property tax burden. Because many developments, not only within your school district, but statewide, have large tax assessments like special taxes from CFDs, tax burden becomes a big component when a homeowner tries to qualify for a loan on the property. It's just an additional burden on a monthly basis that they have to come up with. In both cases for these CFDs, when the CFD was formed, it was kind of at the peak of the last real estate cycle. And they were formed assuming a much larger home was built at a much higher home price, if you can believe that. We still have not gotten back to the home price here in the Victorville area of where folks thought it would be back in 2006. We're still short of that. So as a result, what's going on here is the tax burden, or the total special tax, is in excess of what the market really will bear, and it's hindering the ability for these developers to move forward with their project. So as they look at building, as they look at the properties within this area and they try to select which one are they going to build next, they're less likely to build these projects because that tax burden is just so high. So what they've asked us to do is they've asked us to consider reducing the level of tax that the CFD can assess. And the primary method for that is the removal of the funding of the non-school facilities, or the Baldy Mesa or City of Victorville now water and sewer connection fees. So if you look to the side here, I've just done the example. This is the original from the original tax run for 2005-7 Improvement Area B. You can see here in the orange pie here, approximately 38% of the funding that was projected to come from the CFD was actually going to go to fund those facilities. So what the developer in a very primary way is asking us to do is take that 38% and eliminate that financing, so that the remaining special tax would be lower, but it would only fund facilities of the school district. So next slide. So we've done, in working with staff and with the developer and their consultant, we've kind of went back and forth. Their original proposal was produced significantly less funding for the school district than the one that we'll be asking you to consider, because it really did, their initial proposal basically took you back to $5.88 per square foot. So back to what would you need to generate if you were just generating what we told you could generate back in 2006. Understanding that it's not 2006 anymore, and that the district has incurred significant costs associated with the fact that the CFDs never moved forward. We have worked out with the developer and their consultant a counter proposal that does a couple things. Number one, for the developer, it reduces the effective tax rate from something that's greater than 2%, which is kind of the maximum threshold for marketability, down to approximately 1.7%, which we feel is more than low enough to allow the developer to move forward with the development. This is important because if the development doesn't move forward, the district will receive approximately what they've received to date from the CFDs, which is nothing, right? We only tax and receive revenue when the homes are built. So providing a little bit of relief there works in our benefit as well. We will propose amending the final termination of the tax out to fiscal year 2064-65, or 33 years after bonds are issued by the CFD. This allows us, by allowing us to collect the tax for a longer period of time, it allows us to provide the future homeowner with a lower tax rate. It's similar to a mortgage payment. If I finance my home for 30 years, it's a lower mortgage payment to finance the same thing than if I did for 15 years. So again, trying to mitigate the total effective tax rate on the property while still providing the district with significant funding. And then finally, the resulting special tax is estimated to produce a value of approximately $8.22 per square foot for the school district. And you can see here, I've compared it in the bottom left-hand corner. On the bottom, in the gray bar there, is $4.70. That's your level 2 fee. The mitigation fee, which is outlined in the agreement, is $5.88. And then the green bar represents the approximate value of the revised tax rate, which is $8.22, or approximately 75% over and above your level 2 fee. On the right-hand side, I'm illustrating the average tax rate within the boundaries of the CFD prior to the amendment, which is the current rate. The average would be approximately 3,000, and we'd be taking that average on the amended rate down to approximately $2,000 per residential unit. Next slide, Robert. The tax rates within for 2005-5 and 2005-7, they vary a little bit. The average tax rate, it's based mainly on the planned residential development, how many square feet they plan to build. Because what we've done here for 5-7 and Premier B, we've kept the $8.22 the same. So we've aligned the amount of mitigation they're providing to you as a school district. And then we just allowed their projected development then to fund that and what the appropriate tax rate would be. So you can see here on 5-7, the average tax rate ends up being slightly lower than you saw on the prior slide for 5-5. But again, it's simply a function of kind of the size and of homes they're building. In addition to kind of this nuts and bolts stuff, the other thing that we're proposing on the amendment is to provide a rate and method of apportionment that has significantly more in the way of tax classifications. So the current rate and methods have kind of 3 or 4 categories that a unit can fit into based on their average square footage. We're proposing here to expand that to 8 or 10 classifications. The idea being that it would be more flexible into the future. If somebody wants to build bigger units or smaller units, we don't have to be back amending it in another couple of years if things don't move forward. On the final slide, here are the kind of the next steps. This is similar. I think I was in front of you a couple years ago, been a couple years ago now on one of the CFDs that we just extended the term on, but the process is the same. So the first thing is that each of the developers will be providing an amendment fee to the school district. And this will cover the costs associated with my services, attorneys, recording fees, document fees, all of those types of things. So the amendment process does not negatively impact the district's financial position. It's paid out of the developer's pocket. The second thing is we will work and coordinate with district counsel, Lozano Smith, to make sure, or Atkinson Andelson, to make sure that all of the various legal documents and resolutions are prepared, reviewed by the developers team and approved prior to bringing it to the board. And what we'd like to target is to come back to you with the first action item on June 8th. What that June 8th item will be is it'll be a resolution for the board to simply agree to consider the amendment at a future board meeting and to provide an opportunity for those who are being affected by the amendment. So in this case, it would just be the property owners to come and voice either support or opposition through a public hearing. And then we come back in July, on July 13th, and conduct the special election and approve the resolution amending the rate and method of apportionment and approving an amended mitigation agreement. On the July 13th, just as a reminder, it is a special election. However, because there are no registered voters within the boundaries of the CFD, it would be a landowner election where the landowner votes, they get 1 vote per acre, and the ballots will be cast and counted before your board meeting. So by the time we show up to the board meeting, we would know that the votes are in and kind of what would be going on. So that's all I had to kind of present and kind of bring you up to speed on today. If you have any questions this evening, I'm here and willing to answer them. If questions develop over the next few weeks, if you can forward them to district staff, they can get them to me and we can either get those answered prior to the next board meeting or when we come forward in June.
Thank you. I do have one question really quick. I see your map on CFD 2005-5. You pointed out to what appeared to be, or you stated were commercial developments that are in between the housing and that highway there. Moving over to 2005-7, there are similarly blocked out property on that west side.
Mm-hmm.
Could you explain what those are?
Absolutely. So in 2005-7, on the right-hand side of the map, you'll see the currently mapped residential subdivided tract, and those are all all residential lots. But you'll see the total planned units for this development are 291 residential units. There are not 291 residential units here. This is approximately half the development. What's over here on the left-hand side is its property that is entitled to be developed with residential homes, similarly to the right, but it didn't get, it hasn't gotten to the point of what they call final map or tract map. So it's still very large acreages of property. Okay. Between now and when they actually build a home there, it'll look like the right-hand side.
Sure.
Currently, 2005-7, where 2005-5 is owned by a national home builder, 5-7 is still owned by an investment company. Their plan is to sell that property after the amendment, to sell that property on the right-hand side to a home builder. And then if the real estate market continues to hold up, then to go through the process of getting a map recorded on the balance of the property project. Oh. So it was a good question, though.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. Any questions from the board?
What is the effect on our long-term district financial status?
So this is the way I would look at it is if we go back in kind of the way back machine and we look at in 2004, 2005, and 2006, this program was seen as one of the potential sources of repayment for the district's lease revenue or COP certificates of participation. So as we look forward to doing what we can within reason to assist the development community to move forward on these projects, it can benefit us to the extent that this amendment works and they move forward and build homes and people start to pay taxes. There's two potential benefits to the district. Number one is, as the district collects special taxes within the boundaries of these CFDs, it would be available to pay lease payments on the district's COPs. So that's number one. So as soon as they start building and start paying taxes, we can utilize that to help defer some of the impact of the COPs on the district's general fund. Secondarily, if these CFDs mature to full build out, the district would have the ability to potentially go to the bond market and really, for lack of a better way of referencing it, convert a portion of your COP debt, which is secured by the district directly, to special tax debt, which is issued and repaid solely from the proceeds of the CFDs. Obviously, these CFDs aren't large enough to repay the entirety of the COP, but those are the types of options that the district would have vis-a-vis kind of the financial position going forward. Again, that all hinges on the fact, or the scenario where we do the amendments, the builder builds, they sell the homes, people move in and they start paying the tax. So, and that's really the driving force behind bringing the amendment forward to you guys is here's an opportunity potentially where we can get this thing moving, not to mention the potential positive effect on enrollment and those other types of things that come with growth in the area.
I have a question. What does this 1AB refer to?
So, okay.
07?
So when CFDs are formed, public agencies have an option when it makes sense to, within a CFD, to make to kind of set aside separate pieces of the CFD itself. So in 2005-7's case, when the school district formed it, in 2005-7, they then separated 5-7 into two components, improvement area A and improvement area B. The easiest way, kind of from a layperson standpoint, to think about it is it's like another CFD. So it's just another way of kind of referencing a total separate CFD. So when we go forward with amending the RMA and the terms of the CFD, we have the ability, and what's been requested is doing it that just affects the improvement area B of 2005-7.
So you were referring to President Hernandez's inquiry about the map for the 2005-7, indicating that they were looking to sell off the eastern boundary section. So then the it's not indicated or drawn on here. What is the boundary of the west end?
So everything, when you look at this picture, this is the entirety of the boundaries. So anything that has a blue box out of it, around it, is the boundaries. So you can see on the right-hand side, you see all the subdivided lots.
Yes.
Those are all within, the ones that are in blue.
Yes.
And then on the left-hand side, you'll see that there's a much larger, almost like a quarter section here that's made up of a number of, I guess it's probably close to 10 separate large parcels.
Okay.
Those are all the boundaries of the district, of the CFD. There are two existing, well, at the time of formation, there was an existing homes in that little hole there, which is why it's not within the CFD. I'm not sure what the use is today, but at the time there was two homes in there. They'll be surrounded.
And is that
Wow.
presently all zoned residential?
Correct. Both the left-hand side is zoned residential, but there's been no track map
Right.
recorded.
Okay.
So what that means is there's a significant amount of work in addition to what's on the right. So the right's the easiest thing to develop.
Right. And there are no APNs assigned to those at all.
There are APNs, but there's only like 10 of them.
Okay. Right.
So
they
instead of
can
the 150 that will ultimately
divide
be there.
those.
Correct. Yeah. So they've got to go, in order to develop that one on the left, they've got to go back to the city and then give them the plans for utilities and all that type of stuff. Whereas on the right-hand side, because the track map's already been approved by the city, they literally can just sell it to a builder, and then the builder can go out and start pushing dirt around. So, and that's kind of why when you look back at 2005-5, that's why 5-5, between the fact that they can quickly get out there and do work, and that it's so close to the 395, is why D.R. Horton, which is the national builder, is so interested in moving forward with the project. They see it as something they can do quickly.
Thank you. Referencing the 2005-5 map, you indicated that bordering the 395 highway are two large commercial lots. Are those owned by the same property owner as the track map?
So half the track map now is owned by D.R. Horton.
Mm-hmm.
The other half of the track map is owned by an investment firm that also owns the commercial property.
Oh, okay.
When the CFD was formed, the reason normally we wouldn't even put commercial property in CFDs, but when it was formed, it was all one big parcel or 2 or 3 parcels. So it just ended up in there by happenstance. I haven't heard or gotten any information on what they plan to do with that property. I just know that it happens to be zoned as commercial and is called out in your mitigation agreement.
I see. And so we don't, on commercial, we, on the CFD, collect no taxes from the commercial property.
Correct. We typically don't collect taxes on commercial property for CFD for school districts because the impact fee is much, much lower than the residential fee. It just doesn't make economic sense. So when they develop that property, they'll come in, and when they pull the permit, they'll pay whatever the prevailing commercial fee is at that time.
One other question, in terms of the special tax rates that are determined, is it based on square footage? Because you indicated the larger amounts anticipate larger square footage.
Correct. So what we typically what we do, especially in cases like this where the target funding amount is a per square foot amount, is that we would provide tax classifications based on an amount of building square footage. So we're trying to do 2 things there. Number one, we're trying to equally impact taxpayers because if our mitigation amount's a per square foot, a smaller unit should pay less than a larger unit. And then number 2, we're trying to create an economy where the total effective tax rate is more or less equal for each property owner.
Mhm.
So total effective tax rate is the base 1% tax plus any special assessments, and then you divide that by the total home price. So by creating this classification system, we're trying to kind of, as much as possible, make it as efficient as possible. Originally, when we formed this, the thought process was that we were going to form it and they were going to go out and build, and it was going to happen really quickly. So there was a very few tax classes, 2 or 3 or 4 of them. But what that meant is, as an example for D.R. Horton, all of the units that they're building fall within the smallest tax class, but the smallest tax class is way higher than they're building. So they're building significantly lower than anybody had expected to build in that community before.
What does that mean they're building lower?
Smaller.
Okay.
Smaller. So at the time when we formed these CFDs, the developers that were looking at building were all building 3,000 square foot or larger units.
Okay.
So now it's a more moderate size, closer to the average of 2,500 square foot. So to kind of put us in a better position going forward, just in case this developer doesn't actually build, we're expanding that out to have many more task classifications. So that if the next person who buys this says, "Oh, I want to build big units again," then it kind of self-adjusts.
Okay.
We don't have to come back and do a second amendment. And I'm here telling you guys, well, they're going to build bigger units. Let's change it again. And the next guy wants smaller units. So we're trying to kind of create some flexibility in that.
So you're going from 3 to 4 classifications to how many?
I think the current proposal has 8 classifications.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but if I just may say, here in Snowline, we have a good fortune of working with a lot of experts. Steve Galt certainly falls within that. Steve, we've had you up here a few times. Thanks again for getting up here through the traffic. But more importantly, thanks for your expertise. You've just been outstanding. Greatly appreciate that. Rumor has it that the traffic back should be better, so I hope that's the case.
It couldn't be any worse.
Yeah, it couldn't be any worse. That's right.
Oh, don't say that.
Yeah.
Do not say that.
Yeah, there you go. But Steve, honestly, we really appreciate your expertise, not just now, but in the past, and certainly moving forward. Thanks so very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, that'll move us to item J1. And as I click over on the agenda, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, President Hernandez. All right, it's with my pleasure to bring to the board a list of new courses for Serrano High School. I'm going to bring those up on my list really quick. But we have any questions that do come up. We do have Assistant Principal Andrea Morrison here in attendance today, and I know she's well versed in the courses that were selected. I want to commend Serrano High School for doing a really good job putting together the course descriptions along with the rationales there. So we have 7 courses that we're bringing to you. A number of them have to do with the musical arts. But starting off at number 1, honors conceptual physics, Diamondback Singers, guitar fundamentals, Kings of Harmony, speech communication and theater, Velocity, which is also an advanced vocal music course, and vocal harmonia. So once again, we wanted to get these in front of you so that we can hopefully seek approval tonight and make sure that these can be offered to students starting as early as the 21-22 school year. So I would pass it back to you, President Hernandez, to field any questions that the board might have.
All right, thank you for that. I'm a little excited to take honors conceptual physics. That sounds like a lot of fun there. No, I've got no questions from the board.
They all look like just, some of them were just replacements of older ones, right?
Yeah, I was able to speak with Mrs. Morrison and she answered my question. So I am satisfied with those.
Very nice. Clerk Colomb, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Well, I can definitely appreciate the, I don't want to say heavy emphasis, but I guess that may be the right word on the art side of what this is. It looks kind of fun. I can really appreciate the movement here with those courses. So with that, this is to the board for approval. Can I get a motion to approve the courses as they have been presented?
Move approval.
Thank you, Member Berenger. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Member Flores. And we'll do a roll call vote. Member Flores?
Aye.
Member Berenger?
Aye.
Clerk Kalum?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item K1. Mr. Zimmerman.
Yes, thank you, President Hernandez. Here in K1, we are bringing you a resolution for a non-reelect of a certificated staff member that we recommend that the board take action on this evening.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board? I have a motion to approve the resolution number 21-1487.
I'll make the resolution.
Thank you, Clerk Colon. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Member Flores. A roll call vote. Member Flores?
Aye.
Member Berenger?
Aye.
Clerk Colon?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. It is approved. We'll go to item K2. Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes, thank you. K2 and K4 go together somewhat. So what we're looking for here is annually school districts file waivers with the California Department of Education to be able to bring on substitute teachers that have waivers for the CBEST exam to teach either in a regular situation or in a designated subjects CTE situation. We anticipate 10 or less of these, but if we do not have the waiver on file and we're in need of substitutes, we can't then go out there and hire substitutes under these circumstances. So we bring this to you in May of each year for approval for the following school year.
Okay, very good. Any questions from the board?
No.
All right. The recommendation here is that the board declares the district has been enabled. Are we looking for a motion and approval here?
Approval, yes.
Okay, very good. Can I get a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Thank you, Member Berenger. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Member Flores. Roll call vote, Member Flores?
Aye.
Member Berenger?
Aye.
Clerk Kalum?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. K3, Mr. Zimmerman.
Thank you, President Hernandez. This is also a May item that HR departments bring to their Board of Trustees. And this is a document, a declaration for fully qualified teachers, knowing that there are times when, as we recruit teachers, we cannot initially find a fully qualified teacher. We always are under obligation to hire the most qualified candidate, but there are times when that is difficult. The state also uses this declaration of need for fully qualified educators. They share this declaration with the credential programs throughout the state of California, so those programs know how to best recruit teacher candidates for the following year. So this declaration we're filing is to allow us, if needed, to hire on an emergency permit CLAD and English learner authorizations while those candidates are going through that process, special ed teachers, multiple subject teachers on occasion, single subject teachers on occasion as well, with the total not to exceed 13. And I know you've seen us bring you occasionally somebody on an emergency credential situation, a PIP or a STIP, and that's what this is helping us out with.
All right, very good. Any questions from the board?
Nope.
Very good. A motion to approve the declaration.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Member Flores. A second.
Second.
Thank you, Clerk Cologne. Roll call vote. Member Flores?
Aye.
Member Berenger?
Aye.
Clerk Cologne?
Okay.
Thank you, sir. And I vote aye as well. Oh, the motion's approved. And K4, Mr. Zimmerman.
Yes, and K4 similar to K2, but different in that we're declaring that the district's been unable to recruit enough day-to-day substitute teachers who have had the opportunity to take and pass the CBEST. And so this allows us at times to hire people in that realm. And it also dictates in the public notice a number of situations like this, CBEST waiver, up to 10 substitutes, and then it goes through some other areas as well. If we need a speech and language pathology waiver, a designated subject credential waiver, emergency clad. So it is, again, following up on K2 and K3.
All right, very good. Any questions from the board?
Actually, yes. On the backup document for this item, it has this school year, 2020 to 2021.
Oh,
But we are, this is for next year,
Next year.
21.
It is for next year. So that is definitely something we will need to get addressed before we file it. Thank you, Member Berenger.
I don't think any of us are reading over it.
Yeah.
Good
and
eyes.
actually, Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
we just post this in our lobby. So Jessica could change that one
Yes.
issue there before we post it in the lobby.
Thank you, Mrs. Stapp. Yeah, so I see that this is our public notice that'll get posted. So
Yeah.
we will get that addressed before posting that this week.
So with that amendment, I'll move approval.
Thank you very much. A second. Thank you, Member Flores. Roll call vote. Member Flores?
Aye.
Member Berenger?
Aye.
Clerk Cologne?
Aye.
I vote aye as well, and it's approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for all of those. We do appreciate it. That'll take us to Administrative L1, Dr. Holman.
Thank you, President Hernandez. L1, as it says there, discussion information specific to the District Governance Handbook. As a board, the five of you, today Nathan Bristol, board member Bristol, I should say, is unable to attend, but all five of you committed to going through the Governance Handbook, reviewing it, making updates as is appropriate, and doing so over the course of 4 meetings. This is the third of the four meetings, I should say, that all of you have committed to. The previous two, we've made progress through that Governance Handbook. And so with the help of Alan Miller, who's always great about this, he's going to share his screen. And what I'd like to propose is as we continue to work through these 4 sections, we're on section 3, that we would take a moment to go backward to address a request from all of you at our last meeting, and that is to bring forth some language specific to the superintendent's responsibilities, which was in that those areas that we divided up in the second section. I'll present that right there. Thank you, Alan. Perfect. We'll go backward if you don't mind to go forward, and then move forward in the rest of that section that would constitute about 2.5 pages or so as we move through the Governance Handbook. So it's President Hernandez, if that's okay, I'll begin with addressing where we left off the last meeting.
I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so very much. And so what we see up here on the screen, and Alan, if you'd be so kind as to, given our distance here, not to mention probably, I'll just speak for myself, my age, right? If you can expand that, document up there just a touch, that would be great. We appreciate that. But what you can see there is gaining clarity on roles and responsibilities. You work through the section specific to the board, and that's that first part. But in this next section, we talked about the superintendent's role and had discussion around the idea of myself making certain that I represent myself in my role as superintendent, and any superintendent in this role here would represent the best interest of Snowline in any and all settings. And now what I recall out of the discussion, we appreciate that separation between personal and professional space, but on that other side, as you'll see up here, my commitment was really to the idea of ensuring that occurs no matter where I am as we travel, not just the high desert, but wherever we are, knowing that representing the district in the best of ways is the right thing to do. So you can see the language up there, right up on the screen there. I know that's a bit of a distance, but it's the very, as we read through there, after the, oh, sorry.
So
Yeah,
is it
thanks for
different
getting
than what we have in?
It is,
in the
yeah.
back? Oh,
It is. Thanks, Alan. That's perfect. And so as I read there, the superintendent's role is to develop a plan, right? Also marshal resources, assign personnel, monitor, recognize effort, hold personnel accountable. And so here's that difference here. And this is the proposal to all of you, and represent the best interests of the district at all times. So the only addition there is that and represent the best interests of the district at all times, knowing that the other pieces were there beforehand. So if you don't mind going backward to go forward, turn that over to you, President Hernandez, and love to get your thoughts as a collective board around that addition there.
Yeah, well, we discussed it much last time, as you just said. I wholeheartedly agree that that the position that you're in, really that we're all in, really are very visible oftentimes, though your position and your tenure here clearly makes you a more visible person in our district, and I can appreciate that. So that that little verbiage in there, I appreciate and I agree with. Other board members?
I like it.
Clerk Malone, any comments on that?
Looks good to me.
All right, very good. Consensus.
Yeah, thank you there, President Hernandez, and the entire board there. And so then moving along there now, and thanks so very much again for doing what you're doing there. You can see this next section that I'd love to address here tonight with all of you, and that's the performance of the responsibility of the board. So specifically board, performing board responsibilities. And you see the term CSBA on page 3 right next to there. This comes directly from the California School Boards Association. And what you'll see here as we go through is not any color from pages 3 to 4, and then continuing just right to the top of 5. And we'll get to that in a second. But when we think about pages 3 and 4, those are right from I would characterize them myself, knowing that they've been here since its inception in 2014, and having been at CSBA events and gone through the Masters in Governance training, really best practices for board members specific to responsibilities. And so that's why you see, in terms of this recommendation from ourselves as administrative team to all of you, no changes because of that. Again, that adherence, in my opinion, as I just characterize it as best practices from CSBA. So back to President Hernandez and the team. How do you feel about keeping that section as is?
I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think I do believe I had some notes on that. If I can review those briefly, if there's any other comments from the board while I do that.
I'm okay with it.
My apologies for taking the time here. I think any of the comments I had were essentially maybe just a little wordsmithing, but overall correct on both the direction is good with it.
Yeah, thank you, President Hernandez. And I guess I just ask of you or anyone specifically. I appreciate the notion of wordsmithing because that can obviously take ourselves in a particular area, but are there any recommendations right at this moment? If not,
yeah, I guess some of the things that I had written down, currently written, is focus on student learning. I said focusing on student achievement, where that achievement may not just be academic. There's always that social emotional piece that you and your team are so good at. Getting across to all the sites and our students. So I said achievement rather than learning. I wrote evaluate and implementing recommendations from the district and school site educational professionals. So more of that collaboration piece in there. So perhaps Well, either they're good as is, or we can take another round at this if there's any thoughts from the board that they want to make any adjustments or changes there. So far, I do hear that
Yeah, I
everybody's
read
okay.
through and thought it looked great.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think with that, the board does have a direction that what is currently presented is acceptable and should be what we go.
Okay, well, I thank you for that direction, and that would be for the rest of page 3, as we see there in this section of board responsibilities, continuing through page 4 as we scroll downward, and then just gets us to what I would say is these 2.5 pages, if you will, for tonight, and that is, again, coming from the California School Boards Association, and at the top of this page, you see the governance team, the agreements to facilitate governance leadership, and that text there too was brought to us by California School Boards Association consultant back in 2014, Luann Rivera, who also teaches Masters in Governance courses. And again, as an administrative recommendation is to keep the content the same way, knowing that that would get us to the norms, and then just share with you in that last half page worth, we'll see in just a moment, those norms. But before we get to that, any feedback, President Hernandez and the rest of the team, on that first portion, the lead up, if you will, to the agreements that you're making.
All right, from the board, any comments, recommendations?
Nothing here.
Yeah, same.
And under norms, as we progress through, there's only one there.
Yeah, we actually have those for you. We'll go get to that in just a second. Thank you. Yeah, that's a well placed comment there for sure. So you'll see after the work that you did with Dr. Ralph Baker in just a moment, assuming that President Hernandez and the rest of the team, are we okay to move forward with?
Yes, please.
Okay, so thank you so very much. So just a very timely comment there, Member Behringer. So thank you, Alan. Yeah, again, perfect work there. So what you'll see here are norms. These came to all of you based upon the work done prior to the pandemic. I know it seems so long ago, right? 14 plus months, actually 15 months ago, because this work was stopped just prior to the afternoon of March 13th in 2020, when schools and school districts were closed for business as we normally knew it back then. So what you'll see here are the norms that were brought to you again by Dr. Ralph Baker, consultant from San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools. And if you don't mind, as a team, I'll read them, if that's okay, just to ensure that they sound as, I guess, appropriate as all of you agreed to back with that work from Dr. Baker. And so those norms are: our governance team wishes to create a culture that models respect as well as open and honest communication by representing our district and community through positive professional behavior, and specifically reserving judgment and listening empathetically. And then continuing on by being responsive to differences of opinion and personalities. And then thank you, Alan, as we continue down here, and then ending with this more details of staying focused on content, not behavior or style. And next is meeting guidelines, and I would argue that we can do this at that final meeting, but those are the norms that were proposed by and worked through with Dr. Baker back what seems like many, many years ago, but was just a little bit over a year ago.
Yeah, I think the way they read right now looks great.
There's just that one extra check mark on the next page, Dr. Holman.
Yeah, and I think that we go through that there, Alan, if you just go back down there, I think, did I read that one?
Did you? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I know you're doing double duty.
I
over
am.
there.
I'm sorry.
No, I know you're doing double duty, keeping you're keeping all my many comments into the record, as well as I go back and forth there. So And that's an important piece, though, that you do bring up, Nancy, and that would be that please know from a formatting standpoint, we'll clean all that up once we're done here. Nancy has done well to capture not only your thoughts, but also we've got the formatting in the final edition, of course, that we would do for ease of reading, just for the reason that Nancy brought up. That would all be cleaned up there. And maybe what I should have said again, these norms, right? Those are the agreements that this is how we behave, right, as a team. These are the actions that we, engage in as a team to be most successful.
Yeah, very good. I agree with them. Rest of the board? Thumbs up. Head nods. Mr. Palone?
Good.
Good. All right, very good.
Well, thank you to the board here. I really appreciate your good work. And again, at the last meeting of the 4 here, which would be, I think, May 25th, if my math serves me correctly, what we'll bring back are the corrections, right? The corrections and additions and commitments that you've all made thus far. Plus, you'll see the meeting guidelines right there that you've already made some recommendations to. And then the final page and a half, which would be the protocols and processes that we follow. And I think we should be able to not only attack them, but complete them just as well as you always have up until this point. So back to you, President Hernandez.
Very good. All right. That will take us now to item L2 on the update on at-home and in-person learning. Dr. Holman.
Yeah, thank you, President Hernandez. Again, looking forward to doing what we've done meeting after meeting after meeting, and that is as a team here, discuss our status of our learning designs, both in person and at home. This is very timely here on May 11th because May 10th, as you're all well aware, we were able to expand our in-person learning. So tonight's focus, of course, will be around that. As always, we have continuing efforts that we'll go through, provide you with the data, and ensure that you know where we're going forward relative to our next steps. So again, Alan, thank you in advance for your good work. You can see there's that slide that is the first slide all the time, and that reminder to all of us here, as well as those who are listening. We do post this on our website following our meetings. And so with that being said, we'll go through, our outcomes. The outcomes remain the same. We're going to develop this shared understanding and then commit to our actions that we need to make to ensure success here for each child here in Snowline. And so the agenda is on the next slide. That agenda looks very familiar, but I just want to bring attention to that second to last bullet, and that's that 4-day in-person update. Really, again, focus on that effort here tonight, because that is day 2 ended of that 4 days of in-person learning per week. And so thank you, Alan, going from that page to our reminders relative to the guidance that we follow. Again, maybe the little pithy statement that I do maybe share it sometimes. We don't make the rules of public health, but we do follow those rules. Those rules at the federal level, CDC, those recommendations come down to the state. That's the California Department of Public Health, is that acronym there. You can see their, I guess, their visual there next to that. CDPH, just clarifying here, they guide school districts, not just Snowline, but all 1,000+ in the state of California. And then we have local support from San Bernardino County Department of Public Health. Again, they are the guideline makers. We're the followers of those guidelines. And so with that, Alan, thank you for sharing that one. We know we have at home and in person, and we'll be talking a lot of the in person, but the at home still does exist. And so as Alan goes to that next slide here, you know that we are fortunate to have 2 options: the homeschool design through Snowline Academy, and then on that next page, what we're calling our remote school, and that's been going on since, in effect, the pandemic, began. Once we got that up and going, and all school districts did, the remote school. That's kids connected to the schools that they normally attend in person, but have chosen to leverage that option that we provide in remote school. So thank you, Alan, for that slide. We'll go to just make sure you know about what exists. Student cohorts. We have right now just a little south of 90 students district-wide in our learning cohorts. Those have been bigger in the past, but as we've opened more in-person learning, kids have come out of those cohorts and gone back to the in-person setting, as we'll be discussing here. And so Alan goes to that next slide here. We know we follow 3 metrics because the county follows those 3 because they're required by the state to follow those 3, that then in turn leads to what we can and cannot do, i.e., or in effect, the idea of moving through the tiers, right? Those colored tiers, which is in this next slide here. We know those to be purple, red. We've been in orange for quite a while, moving toward yellow, and even had 2 of those metrics, the percentage of transmission rate, both the positive rate as well as the healthy places index in the yellow in San Bernardino County for quite some time. The daily case rate hasn't quite been there yet, but to that end, we'll get to that. So now as we go through our slides for our local areas, these 5, you see Oak Hills at 10.5 cases on a daily rate is the most recent data that we got yesterday from the state. And then we go from Oak Hills to Phelan at 1.9. Pinion Hills will be next at 1.8, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. And you'll see the Victorville area in general, remember Vista Verdes, on the far western side of this at 5.3 daily cases. And then finally, Wrightwood at 5.5 cases. Those are daily cases per 100,000 residents, right? So just know that that's the equation that is used. Still low numbers, very low numbers that we've seen for a length of time here, meaning not just weeks, but months. Maintained, while there have been some slight increases and decreases, really staying within a range that have been relatively low, which is a good sign. And showing you that, talking about that, let's show you those data. A lot of orange up there, right? And you can see from mid-March all the way down to May, even some yellow ranges there that we have, and then May 1st there. And really those yellow ranges should have occurred. Now that I look at that, I should have updated those on those last 2. I forgot to update my colors there. My apologies there, because those last 2 lines on April 24th and May 1st went a little colorblind there. The percentage rates, as I just mentioned, are in yellow and should be in yellow. But look too at the daily case rate, how that remains low, very low in San Bernardino County, right? That's countywide. And then, Alan, as we switch to the next slide there, you'll see Snowline data. Just a reminder, we don't get the percentage rates per district boundaries, not just Snowline, but none of the school districts get that. But we do get the daily rates. You can see ourselves going from mid-March to red, to then going down into orange. And you can see ourselves at low numbers there at 2.9 cases, which is a total, if you wonder about those raw numbers, 9 within our boundaries in a given week, 3 attributed to youth over time. So 2.9, again, encouraging numbers. Many people will, not many, but people have asked me, what do we attribute it to? I would just say, again, it's following the guidelines, following the science that informs the guidelines. And that would be, wearing the mask, washing our hands, right? Having that good hand hygiene, watching our distances from a physical standpoint, right? Physical distancing, and vaccinations, to be quite frank. And I know people have that choice, but know that the science is showing that vaccinations are working too. And so with that there, Alan, thank you so much. There's our commitment as quickly, safely, as tightly aligned to public health guidelines as possible, but doing so together. And speaking of together, Alan, as we go to the next slide, let's take a look at where we are in terms of supporting our community with resources, specifically vaccination opportunities. I want to thank, first of all, go backward to go forward, Pinion Mesa Middle School. Last week, with the help of Borrego Health, we had, I think, almost 50 appointments for a single dose. That would be the Johnson & Johnson vaccination for residents to come to Pinion Mesa Middle School, thanks to Kim Miller and Debbie Arbour and all the staff members who opened up their doors and allowed that to happen. And so nice to see that occur, bringing resources. And speaking of middle schools, Quail Valley Middle School has a second dose opportunity. So it's the follow-up to, I think, their April 29th event, where they were administering April 17th. No, actually, I think it was April 17th. I might be off on that date there, but they had a first dose. Now they're going to the second dose on May 12th at Quail Valley. Those individuals have appointments to finish their 2-dose sequence. Serrano High School, though, we were just able to confirm with San Bernardino County, they are using a mobile unit effort to go to high schools. You recall that I mentioned that at our last meeting. We're able to confirm now, thanks to Dr. Willie Jones and of course Robert Chacon, who's always helped me with this work, that we were able to get May 27th from 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock in the evening, get students at this point, and we don't have confirmation. You'll see in just a moment what I'll be talking about, the lower or younger levels, but 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds with parent, not only permission, but parent presence if they so choose. And when they want to be really clear, this is an opportunity. Notice that word at the top, it's an opportunity. It's not a requirement, right? It's an opportunity, so it's full choice by parents. And 18-year-olds who are high school students, again, full choice, not a requirement. That'll be occurring from 4 to 8 o'clock at Serrano High School in one of our facilities. So excited about that. That's happening throughout the high desert. So I was really proud to be able to work with our superintendents up here to say yes to this opportunity that the county will be providing. Now, people might be asking, well, Ryan, what about younger ages? Because early this week, right, Pfizer got emergency use authorization from the FDA to administer their vaccination to children 12 years and up, or that 12 to 15 range. Now, my understanding is that's a 3-step process. So now that emergency use authorization came from the FDA, CDC, as well as the NIH, right, has to sign off on that. But again, know that there might be more opportunities moving forward for younger students. And again, they're opportunities. As we continue down there, Pinyon Mesa has another 1-dose event, thanks to Borrego Health on June 2nd, Wrightwood Elementary School. You'll see 5 dates there. Now, those dates are, and that opportunity is brought to us by San Bernardino County Department of Public Health. So people might be saying, Ryan, why are you having 5 days out at Wrightwood Elementary School? And that's for the Wrightwood residents up there. That's because they came to us and that's what they want to do. We, in fact, even asked, can we spread those out? They said, no, we want to have the 5 up at Wrightwood Elementary School. So again, maybe a parallel here, right? We're not making up the rules. We follow them. We follow these opportunities. I'm sorry to be the broken record here, but it seems like a theme here, doesn't it? And so again, we're very thankful and always willing to take advantage of resources here, those 5 days. And we'll see, again, what's on my mind. What is saturation level? We haven't reached it yet, in my opinion, because we still have people signing up for these and attending these. So we'll see what happens on June 14th through the 18th. Thanks to John Garner for being willing. He's the principal out there to house another event. And then finally, you see Vista Verde Elementary School. Robert Chacon and I have been in conversations with Borrego Health, and they were very interested when we proposed to them to bring out an opportunity to Vista Verde Elementary School. That we think that community, that's a walking distance opportunity to get, again, another part of our school district the chance to have vaccinations, again, completely free, but also completely the choice of individuals in that area. So stay tuned for that Vista Verde one. We're looking forward to getting a confirmed answer. I know a big thanks to Maria Hughes, the principal out there, who was very willing when we suggested this. So looking forward to that too. So that's the vaccine updates there. Alan, as we go to the next slide, let's talk about graduation and promotion guidelines. I won't belabor this too much because a lot of that information is still the same. And I think it's important to have it up there because there are a lot of guidelines, again, that we need to follow specific to graduation promotion. But the exciting piece is we've got the opportunity to provide them in person. We've been communicating, as I go down in those bullets there, we've been communicating this to our families, the very last one there. And as we collaborated with San Diego County Fire, thanks to Robert Chacon with his connections in that regard, given his expertise back in the day, he knows that language and was able to work through all the efforts there that have to occur. I want to thank to all of the site leaders, site staff who've been working on all the great opportunities for our kids and for ultimately, selfishly as us as adults, to celebrate them. And so very much looking forward to being able to do that good work. And also our department, many of our department leaders were really key in making certain that graduations and promotions can happen. Again, we've communicated with families, we'll continue to do that. And if anything changes, and I would just hope that change would be for the better, right? We'll certainly get that word out there too. So that's a reminder about graduation promotions. Let's talk though about 4 days per week, right? We started yesterday. Boy, that was exciting. There were numerous successes, as I said up there. And this is, of course, to a certain degree anecdotal, but anecdotal from my standpoint. I was on a good number of sites that day. Couldn't make it to all of them, just given the timelines, but certainly thrilled to be able to set foot and see more kids on campus. And when I talk about the successes, I think the first one I want to mention is just how the students responded. And having conversation with those students, while I got a number of answers, and I'm talking dozens of kids, and just it was a very simple question. So what do you think about this 4 days a week? What are your comments about this? And the resounding theme was, it's great to be back at school. It's great to be back at school with my friends and those who I might be in my classes, and to not see them just in 2-dimensional form, but to see them in 3-dimensional form. So I would, having been an educator for almost 3 decades now, I think it was a real palpable feeling there, palpable sense that kids were glad to be back. So love that. I think that's a huge success. And I just have to say, the other major success that stood out to me was the fact that staff members met the moment. And I will tell you, rarely do I say I told you so. I guess I will say I told the collective so, to the extent that Snowline staff step up. They step up, right, and meet moments. And we talked about this. There was, we've had those conversations, roughly, 55-45 or 50-50 on this. But the bottom line is, Snowline staff said, if this is what we're doing, it's best for kids, we're going to do this. We're going to meet the moment for the kids. And so that was wonderful. But I don't want to shy away from my challenges. The most significant challenge right now is ingress and egress, right? The idea of, when we say ingress and egress, getting kids to school and then getting kids to their homes. And in some instances, it's not a problem. In some instances, too, I know at Baldy Mesa Elementary School, at the Heritage School, for instance, are 2 that come right to mind. I want to thank first of all, the families, right, who, if you think about it, we've had 3 or 4 first days of school, right, opening days. I think that contributes to some of the challenges. But more importantly, I want to thank the staff members and thank them for their patience, but also really the staff members and the leadership. When I talk to the leaders, they're already thinking of solutions. I want to thank our police officers for being out there and providing for the safety. Even a couple parents giving us some ideas to make it better. So just know, while we don't have everything solved, we're committed to finding those solutions so that we can get everybody in and out in a timely manner, but most importantly, in a safe manner, right? And that's for the last 16 days. Remember, there were 18 days of these in-person learning days. When we take away the Wednesdays, which are remote, we're now down to 16. Know that we're going to continue to work hard to make that better. So those are the 4 days per week overviews there, but just thrilled to see more kids there connecting with staff members so that magic happens that we call learning in person. Alan, if you go to that next slide, I want to share with you some data, because tied to 4 days of in-person learning, there might be that question, well, what percentage of kids are coming to in-person learning? What percentage are staying home? And what changed when we went from 2 days to 4 days? Now, you might wonder about these dates. I'll just share with you right at the top there, April 26th and May 10th. We are required as a school district, as are the other 1,000+ school districts, to report 2 times per month on a variety of topics specific to learning designs. All districts do it. So these are pulled, these data, I should say, are pulled from the 2 most recent postings of our data. And the most recent one was very timely. It was on May 10th, and we asked all of our school sites, of course, to include their May 10th data. So here's how I've divided up the data here. What percentage of kids, very simply put, are attending in person, and what percentage are staying in remote. Now, when we say in-person learning, that would be, those cohorts would be included in that. And then the 2-person design in April 26th, right? 2-person, I shouldn't have said that, 2-day design, right? That hybrid design of the A group and the B group, right? That's on the left-hand side for April 26th. And on the right-hand side, then we've switched over to the 4 days per week. And so then on the very left-hand column, I just want to share with you, I just thought, well, what might you want to see? How might you want to see the data? So right at the top, we've got district-wide, and you can see divided up by levels: elementary school, I separated the Heritage School just because of its unique nature. You'll see some other uniqueness down here, because that is of course, a pre-K or preschool, excuse me, through 8th grade. So you can see that separated. Then we've got, of course, our 2 middle schools put together there. We have Serrano High School separated as our one comprehensive high school or traditional high school. Then Chaparral High School, right, as part of NTS. They're unique from Eagle Summit. And then finally, SA stands for Snowline Academy, and SAS is the Snowline Adult School. So you can see how the data are laid out there. And up there at the district, what we're looking at is roughly a 58 to 42 design on April 26th. And then segueing over to a slight increase in-person, but a very slight one, right? I mean, when we talk about significant statistically, not a significant difference there, but it's an increase, right? And again, we're just in day 2 here, and these data were from yesterday. Elementary school, you can see that 70-30 design going up a little bit to, by 1% or 2 there. The Heritage School, you can see just a slight change, right? Just on the first day. We continue down to the 2 middle schools, and you see that the middle schools probably have they do as a level the most significant change there. No, on the next page, you'll see individual schools. So that's a little bit of a spoiler alert there. You can see that. Yeah, thanks, Alan. We'll come back to that in just a second, though. So if we can just go back to that previous one. Thanks, Alan, for showing that one off. I appreciate the preview there. Then Serrano High School, right? Again, changes, but not significant in my opinion. Chaparral High School shows a significant change. Now think about Chaparral High School, and this is one of the important reasons, in my opinion, to separate the data in the way that at least we thought would be best here, is we think about that unique schedule that they have, and we think about that unique schedule in general and how it provides for students to be working too, right? Mm-hmm. That could be a factor. No, I know, having talked to their leadership there, they've mentioned that. We also have kids graduating. We talked about that most recently in a spotlight, right? Mm-hmm. So there's some unique data there to consider for Chaparral High School. You see Eagle Summit. You see certainly people would say a significant change. The piece to keep in mind there, 12 kids and then 11 kids. So, some swings for sure, but I want to be certain that we all know that when there are very low numbers like there are over there, a couple students really can make for maybe a volatile change in data there. But those are the data. Again, 12 total kids on April 26th, and then 11 on May 10th. And so that just, with those 11 kids there, you're just talking about a handful there, right? 2 kids and then 9 kids who are staying at home. And so a total change in that, roughly speaking, of 4 kids between in-person to remote. And then Snowline Academy, that's one to consider there, right? By design, they are remote, right? So all kids are in that remote design. In the Snowline Adult School, you can see a little bit of a change, right? A 2% roughly increase in person. So Alan, thanks for giving this preview. I apologize for it being small here. Alan, I don't know if you've got the opportunity to, maybe, well, I don't even know if that would increase very well here, but just knowing this, you can see from Baldy Mesa, Phelan, Pinion Hills, Vista Verde Elementary School, and Wrightwood Elementary School, those first 5, you can see the data, right, for each of those schools. Now, as we think about those, let me just maybe give a couple overviews here. You can see Baldy Mesa staying basically static, Phelan Elementary School static on the nose, ins and outs, staying the exact same that way. You can see Pinion Hills Elementary School, a slight decrease there of roughly 6% of the kids from 2-person to then 2-person 2 days to 4 days. Vista Verde Elementary School having a 9% increase when they changed from the 2 days to 4 days, having a significant increase there. Wrightwood Elementary School staying very stable at high numbers of in-person. And then when you get to Heritage, pretty darn similar. Heritage at 76%, 76.4, and then the next one, I'll read those off if it's easier for people to see, 77.8% of in-person now with 4 days. Pinion Mesa Middle School at 64%, going to 65% now on May 10th. Quail Valley Middle School here. Remember, we saw a swing, right, with middle school when we had them together. you can see Quail Valley going from almost 51% in person to now they're at almost 60%. So a 9% increase, much like Vista Verde Elementary School saw. Serrano High School, just the slightest of changes. It was 2 student change, I think it was, as I saw that, staying pretty stable there. We talked about Chaparral, right? They've been already mentioned there, 54 to 41%. We mentioned Eagle Summit as well. So too did we talk about Snowline Academy and the Snowline Adult School. I hope those data are helpful. You can see where we trended. And overall, again, as a district, some change, but not much thus far here. Not much as we've seen through the data, hopefully. And then, Alan, thank you. Want to attend to next year. A number of questions are coming up here. We hear the question, right, of wearing masks, right? We heard today in a public comment. And I tied that to the idea of the outlook for 2021-22. That's the next school year. It starts, oftentimes referred to the fall, right? It's August is when we start. August 12th is our first day. And almost all schools start in August now. But you'll hear the governor talk about fall. And know that a number of weeks ago, he talked about reopening the economy on June 15th, right? Getting to that date and hopefully, at that point, being able to remove a good number, if not most of the restrictions, right? So that's still in play. But the governor yesterday spoke to the idea of distance learning being on track to end on June 30th. Now his mention of that is that through legislation and executive order, distance learning is in place, but it expires, all of those mandates expire on June 30th. And he sees when that lapses, his comment yesterday was that the plan for, in that last bullet, a return to in-person learning full time, right? That this coming from, again, as it says at the top, the latest news from Governor Newsom, and that came out just yesterday. So then when you think about where we are, right, planning for full-time in person, that's been on our minds. And now as we go to this next slide here, what we need to continue to do, in my view, is communicate with stakeholders. What are our end of the year plans, right? We talked about graduation, right? We talked about promotions and so forth. We've mentioned we want to get resources to our community. I really believe that we're under-resourced in the Snowline district boundaries. I want to take advantage of all of those. I've spoken to that. But also in that third bullet, the third, open bullet is probably the better term there. Planning for 2021-22. Again, just like the governor said, we're gonna take that direction. We're planning for full in-person, knowing that if distance learning lapses, we already have Snowline Academy that provides an online learning opportunity in a very rigorous way. So we're positioned nicely to be able to take advantage of that opportunity, of that school. It provides for I guess I would say families who wish to do that. So a lot of work still to be done, but know that we're better positioned than maybe some other school districts that don't have that. And then maximizing our remaining days. We've had a great amount of success with attendance for many, many years, particularly with your commitment to our student intervention and attendance department. Those staff members do super work. And that's just that reminder that, again, we only had 18 days when we started. We only have 16 days, and just that there are only 16 days. Let's take advantage of those and maximize those remaining days and connect with those kids for their learning on multiple ways. President Hernandez, I appreciate your reference to really educating the whole child, right? It's educating the whole child on all the important standards and learning that they need to understand. And we can't forget, which I think Snowline is committed to, social emotional learning for kids as well, and the beauty that comes out when we connect with kids. So that's the overview here, a little different one because of where we are relative to in-person learning. So President Hernandez, always willing to answer any questions that the board may have here.
Well, I appreciate that. Excellent update. I'll turn it over to the board first. Any questions or comments to the presentation?
Where was the graduation and promotion information available?
Yeah. Thank you, President Manager. The question being, where are the data? Now, Serrano High School, I walked in there today and it's right in their front office there. I believe it's on their website. I'll be honest, that's a guess there. I can just tell everyone real quick if you're asking about Serrano High School from a graduation. They have a graduation week. Very proud of that committee, the work that they've done. Monday is Mountain High event. That's for all high school students. So proud of NTS and the good work that they've done there too. So what a great opportunity. Second year, we'll be able to partner with them and get all of our graduates and all graduates at the high school level up to the top of Mountain High East. And I'll tell you, that's a tough picture to beat when you're taking a picture with your family members in a cap and gown. I wish I was able to do that back in the day. I know I wasn't, but I will be able to be up there and see those kids take advantage of that on Monday. Then on Tuesday is an event called the Senior Sunset. It's being planned with making certain that all the guidelines are being followed. I won't give away what is being planned because it's a great secret, but at the Serrano High School level, know that that's, they had a senior sunrise to start the year, and then at the end, we have a senior sunset event. And that's going to be a powerful event. And then segueing right into, I've got that on, I've got my days wrong. That's Wednesday, the senior sunset, because Tuesday, how do I get my days mixed up, is the drive-through event for Serrano High School. They're doing a drive-through event, which is really, really powerful event. And I'll tell you, I loved it last year. Drive-through. If people have not seen the drive-through that Serrano does, and really all of our school districts do, drive-through term, I will tell you, I think has a connotation that doesn't do its justice. It's really a notion of it's like a celebratory connection. And so Serrano High School and a number of our schools will be engaged in that are just really powerful. That's on Tuesday. The senior sunset is on Wednesday that I mentioned, and Thursday is the traditional graduation at 33% capacity at Serrano High School. So that's for Serrano. NTS also be taking advantage of, when you talk about graduations, President Behringer, on Monday, the Mountain High event. So thrilled that they're taking advantage of that, as well as a Wednesday powerful event that will be out on their campus, an in-person event that is just going to be bigger and better than last year. I know the plans there. I don't want to spoil them. Trust me, though, it's going to be outstanding. You can see what Alan's put up here. These are all the promotion and graduation events. But when you ask about graduation, know that those are being all addressed, not addressed, but I should say compiled right there in that document. Yeah.
If I might, I just forwarded to the board the senior events for Serrano High School. And I thought that Mr. Miller was going to share that document. Maybe it was supposed to be me, but I will get that out to the board so that you know when the events are.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm not able to read this. Does it have times? Are there times?
There are times in there.
Do we know times?
But this one, go ahead there, Nancy. I'm sorry. I cut you off there.
Yes, the times are listed on there, correct, Alan?
Yeah, that's correct. And I was just checking really quick, Nancy, that I did originally share this with the board. But what I'll go ahead and do after we're done with our meeting, I'll reshare it so it's at the top of your email boxes.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you. Yeah, the drive up ceremonies last year were great. I made it to probably 5 of them. So I don't want to miss it if possible.
Yeah. And President Bridger, I appreciate how you worded that, right? Drive up. It just, again, drive up, drive through, right? I just don't think it does it justice because they're powerful, aren't they? Yeah. And I just hope for those who are listening, those who haven't experienced them, they are well worth it. They're really, really exciting. So thanks for speaking to that for sure. Great way to connect, right? We talked about it at the beginning here, President Haynes. Remember we read about the notion of connections over at Pinyon Mesa Middle School? That is a powerful way to connect. It's a whole carload full of your family members yelling and screaming, 10 feet away or 12 feet away. It's awesome. It is awesome.
Member Flores, any comment?
Yeah, just a few things with Dr. Holman's presentation. So with graduations, we are allowed to attend those as board members. Is that okay that we're there?
Absolutely. And I would love for you to be there. Nancy, you want to speak to, you can share with, Member Flores in terms of what we've done in the past, but it doesn't prohibit them from, getting to any and all. It's awesome.
If this were a normal year, and since it's a different type of year, what we do is ask that the board, I kind of ask you where you would like to go. and assign 2 board members to the Serrano High School graduation to present diplomas and shake students' hands. And then others attend middle school, some of the elementary, but this year, with it being the way that it is currently, we will send you that document. If any of you would like to attend certain, especially high school, non-traditional and middle school, if you can let me know if you would like to be there so that I can notify sites that you're going to be there so that they can kind of keep their eyes open for you.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't want to take away capacity if we're limited.
Right.
So,
So, but next year we will go back then
Okay.
if everything stays as is with the state opening up and schools going back full time, we will hopefully add some normalcy to that, promotions and graduations for the 21-22 school year.
Yeah, and I really appreciate the spirit of your question there, Member Flores. I love what Nancy shared in terms of the regular year, and so we'll just make certain as we get closer, and as those guidelines maybe change, we'll ensure that we're not taking away capacity and get you all out there.
Right, and then I had just a couple more things. You mentioned opportunity and not requirement on vaccines. I've had a couple members of the community, school and not school, right, that are curious about that, right, not knowing, seeing, I guess, some of the universities in California that are going to make it mandatory to return back on campus to do that. I know those are adults. Once you're in college, you're an adult, you're not a child. But I guess where you see that going, if you see it where we can continue to just call it an opportunity and not a requirement, I guess I'd hope to see something along those lines where people get to have a choice on yes or no to a vaccine. I know we're not even down to, elementary age kids being able to get the vaccine yet, but if parents want to still be able to choose, do we see that going anywhere? Does the state seem to be giving us any guidance on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So no guidance yet from the state. I've had the good fortune of being in a couple settings, having actually some time with Senator Connie Leyva, also Rosalisi Ochoa-Bo, and both of them have talked about that there's conversations that through the legislative process that may occur, but no promises being made right now from them. And that was, to be honest, there, Member Flores, about a month to 6 weeks ago. Actually, I've got a meeting tomorrow and might get an update on that tomorrow. It just happens to be the meetings that I'm part of. But at this point, again, it still is an opportunity. It still is available. It's not a requirement.
Great.
So, but we'll see what happens through the legislative process.
Just because I know there's parents that, and everyone's allowed to have their own view on it, on what they want to do or not do. And so just wanted to make sure we're hearing both sides, right? And make sure we represent both. And then the last one is the probably the more difficult one that we've been hearing a lot of comments about, hearing things throughout the community, getting inboxes with things on mask requirements. I know that there have been a few different things from the Stanford study recently, CDC, on the physiological effects of masks. It was specific to nurses, but talking about the dangers possibly of wearing a mask too long, which makes me think of just physical education or sports, just some of the dangers that can happen with maybe reduced oxygen intake, that kind of stuff, the physical exercise. We've seen other school districts remove mask mandates, but that's different states. And so really, I just want to get to a point from you. And then a few articles today, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Scott Gottlieb saying that it's possible. Dr. Scott Gottlieb saying this part, that he's the former FDA commissioner, saying something along the lines of perhaps the country could be at a point where we can lift some ordinances and loosen indoor restrictions. No matter where that's coming from, I just kind of want to hear from you and be able to make it pretty clear that, and I think you've said it 3 times now, but I'll give you, I guess, another opportunity maybe to say it, that wherever we fall on that, we're kind of stuck. Am I right in assuming that?
Yeah, I think you assumed that very, very well. And so maybe I can just add to this and wonder if this helps. So I think what you mentioned in terms of what I've said, we don't make up those rules. We have to follow follow them. That's all 1,000 school districts. And then I've had this brought before me. I wonder if all of you do as well. Well, is it about the money, Ryan, or is it about really? It's not even about money, as some people might assume. I'll give the example that did occur months ago, and that is that the San Bernardino County Department of Public Health, one of their roles is to ensure that the guidelines are being followed by the California Department of Public Health. There have been schools that have had to have their in-person learning shut down because they were not following the guidelines. Now that hasn't happened very much at all, but it has happened because the guidelines are put in place to be followed. And that to me is the major reason, because we're all committed to providing in-person learning for the benefit of our students. And so the only way to do that is to follow the guidelines like you just said. So I think you expressed that very well. Just wanted to share with you because people will ask, well, what could happen? That has happened most locally, and it's within San Bernardino County, but I will share with you out in the Morongo area, not their public school, but that's been a problem, before, and it's been documented, in the news. So I think that's important for people to understand that that's the driver and potentially the consequences if, in fact, those rules aren't followed.
And then we can possibly see something change on the 15th.
It could.
That
it could change tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, really, and I say that not as a, just because I think sometimes when we see we list up there the federal, the state, and the local CDC. Ryan, I hear that CDC guidelines are X, but state guidelines are this. Well, CDC makes those recommendations. The state has the purview over the school districts, and those are the requirements we have to follow. And sometimes, I don't want to say they're in conflict, but they're just not quite similar, meaning CDC and the state. And the most recent example of that is, remember, 6 feet physical distancing. That was the mantra, 6 feet, 6 feet. CDC makes that recommendation. Other states went and adopted that sooner than California. Now we have the 3 foot in place, but it took that process. So I think that applies to, I get it, how this can be very confusing.
Right.
Your points are very well taken.
Right. And just speaking to some folks who are saying, our whole office, and I'm not saying it's here or it's somewhere else. I'm just saying people have said, our whole office has been vaccinated. Here we are in a certain place. How much longer do we have to wear these things? But it's kind of not completely in our hands to just say, let's just throw them away. We can't necessarily do that.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I was going to say the answer to that is until CDPH says we don't have to. Yeah, I mean, it's a great point, and I get we've talked about COVID exhaustion, we've talked about guideline exhaustion. There's probably mass fatigue too, right? And so I really appreciate you bringing it up, because I think it's important for us to talk in a public forum that, again, we're committed to following the guidelines so that we can do best by our students in this in-person setting. So thanks for asking the questions. Hopefully that answers.
No, thanks for saying that.
For sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Clark Colon, do you have any comments or questions for the presentation?
No comments. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wrote a few things down. I guess I'm very pleased and happy that I guess by and large, we did not see a shift of students from the in-person to a remote because of this change, or vice versa. It kind of feels that we've absorbed everybody. It may changes as necessary, as those families need. But how are we doing on busing?
Yeah, that's a great question. First, I will say we are meeting the moment. We're making certain that all the kids who have made requests, and I shouldn't say kids, but their families made requests to ride a bus, they've been able to do so thus far. And that's not just our regular education students, but those with special needs. There have been challenges in all fronts for Snowline School District, but relative to transportation. I want to thank make certain that I really thank Shannon Barassa, the director out there, and her entire team. They've stepped up to ensure that can happen and do so in a safe fashion. So far, so good. Has not been easy, but just because it's not easy doesn't mean it's worthwhile doing. They've done it, and they've done it well so far. So thanks for asking.
Yeah, I know we had talked that there was potential need to expand some routes, but to whatever challenges those are, we are meeting those needs.
Yeah, we sure are. Yeah, and to give you some more evidence of that, Robert, you want to, that's of course under your purview. You want to speak to some specifics about the great work that Shannon Barassa and her team have been doing?
Yeah, it's really hard to talk about the work she's doing. You kind of have to see it. You know, they have this huge, board with routes and kids and bus drivers and names and times. I mean, it is a huge, huge endeavor. And they've been really just knocking it out of the park. They're getting curveballs thrown at them daily right now. And just a quick plug, if you know anybody who wants to be a bus driver or is a bus driver and is looking to maybe expand over into Snowline, please send them our way, because we're always looking for bus drivers, right? The pool is so small for bus drivers in the state, not just us, right, but in the state, that we're looking for subs and looking for support. So that's definitely welcomed. But we're making it happen. Super proud of that group. They've been doing an awesome job, really just kind of walking that tightrope and picking kids up and getting them to school and getting them back home. So
wonderful. And I hope we're still advertising that all busing is free. We provide that to all our communities. So those that may still need that that access has it and knows to make contact with us if they do have those kind of needs.
Yeah, I appreciate that reminder. Oh, I guess the quick answer is yes, because you just advertised it right now. So well done. Yeah, right. But I'd also add that that's something that we can put out in our daily communications.
Sure.
I've got some of my regular ones, and I can work with Robert Chacon on that too.
Yeah.
Because that's an important piece to remember.
Well, like you said, we have 16 days, but there are 16 great days ahead of us. So I want to get everybody to school. I would appreciate if we can keep an eye on those numbers as we go through, and if we happen to see any kind of patterned absences, families that may have elected to stay the in-person but are personally challenged and not able to get their student to school on those additional 2 days. I don't want that to be the case, but make sure that we keep those lines of communication open and available to assist those families that may end up struggling here. Just want to make sure that that's still going to be in place for our sites.
Yeah, thank you. We sure will. I think that falls under our commitment to being exceedingly human, right? I mean, we've been committed from the start, and granting that grace. So we will monitor that.
I appreciate that. And finally, I guess I can report my own personal boots on the ground. My middle schooler came home just expressing such excitement, though cautious on the number of students on campus. It's been a year, and she conveyed that it was odd to see so many, but it was awesome, and was able to get together with some friends that aren't in her classes. They were able to meet up at lunchtime, physically distanced. Everybody's wearing their masks. Everybody's doing real well. So I appreciate everybody's effort, student level, teacher level, staff level. It sounds like we're moving forward together as a family, so I appreciate that. I guess that's my only comment to the presentation.
I'd like to know where on the website your presentations could be found. Do you have past presentations, or you update with?
Yeah, we replace. Yeah, what we do is replace. There'd be no reason why we couldn't put them all in there, I guess. But they are right. Robert, you might be able to get it to me quickly, but if we go to the board.
Yeah, so if you just go to the board link.
Yeah, the board meeting.
Yeah.
And then you scroll down, it's toward the bottom there, I believe. Right.
So go to virtual board meetings, and then you'll see the links.
Yeah.
And so the links are there. We keep the links active. We just collapse them. So tomorrow morning, I'll post the presentation from tonight.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and you can see, gosh, we've got the last few also, those active links like Robert was talking about, that kind of archived, if you will.
Great.
All right, very good. Thank you so much. That concludes our administrative section, moves us to board member comments. Let's start with Member Flores.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. Just I want to say thanks to all of our staff. to Superintendent's office and Dr. Holman, thank you guys for pushing and working hard. And like you said, going to try to meet a moment. And I think you guys did that. To all the site leadership, I know it's so difficult to navigate hearing things from both sides and wanting to, I know we all want to make everybody happy, and it's tough to do that, but I want to just say thank you to them, to the teachers, to the staff, to everyone who's working so hard to make 4 days a week happen. Dropping off my kids to school the last 2 mornings, and it being a little bit of a crunch, and but I was telling my kids, anything good, there's a line. You want to get to Dodger Stadium, you're not going to get in quick, you're not going to get out quick, just to try to get so many people in and out quick. And so to the parents, I'd say please be patient. It's tough, but we just want to make sure the kids get in a safe way, and that they make sure they get out in a safe way. I know, but in the school, it's long lines and it takes a while, but just be patient, please. I could speak to the campus my kids are on. Everyone's working so hard, and we're just so grateful for the help. Even had to do a dentist appointment, and my kids had never been checked out through the office, and I was looking through Mr. Primo's window as they're coming, and they had no idea, and a proctor just comes and helps them and guides them right there. And so just so grateful for all the hard work that everyone's doing and making it just, to salvage what we could have this school year again. And I know maybe that's just a little selfish, but from the point of view as a parent, I'm loving it. I'm really loving it. And thank you to, I didn't get his permission to say anything, so I won't use his name, but a certain teacher just seeing the care that he's placing into, he's a middle school teacher, just working so hard to make sure his kids are engaged and loving having more students in his class, engaged in that way. So grateful for him. And even his care saying, but my big concern now is for the few kids that are at home that I haven't gotten the best engagement out of them. And so, so if those parents happen to be watching, try to get your kids engaged from the remote school setting. But just thank you to everybody. I'm very grateful tonight. So thanks.
Very good. Thank you. Member Behringer.
I share in that gratitude to all of our staff and our teachers and all of our administrators for making this happen towards the end of the year. I know it required a great deal of effort and a lot of work, and it is much appreciated on behalf of all of our students doing what's best for them. And along those lines as well, as we were having our meeting, Mr. Miller said, I'm going to share this document with you about promotions and graduations. Check my inbox, there it is. And as the meeting is going on, I see our administrators hard at work updating this document in real time to make sure that we have updated information for those wonderful events that they're hard at work planning. So thanks to everybody.
Very good. Thank you. Clerk Lim.
No comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Much like my colleagues, a big thank you to all of our classified, our certificated, administrative, and management staff. You guys are all doing it, and you're doing it for the right reason, and I appreciate that. I hear you, and I know the concerns, but we're doing it all for the right reason, and I hope you have the strength to keep going through, and reach out if you need any help or any needs out there. So I was also want to say that I'm very proud to have attended the very first middle school track meet of this year, last Friday at Serrano High School. It was the first of 3, so a very abbreviated season, but great crowds came out supporting all of our student athletes, including our out-of-district guest, Hook Junior High School from Victorville. It was a really great showing. So I'll be looking forward to being out there again this Friday and the following to finish up that season. But great to see the kids interacting competitively. They needed it bad, and they're loving it. So that was really great. And that's all I have. We'll go to administrative comments. Mr. Miller.
Thank you, President Hernandez. Yeah, I've got a few things tonight. First of all, just a big woot woot about the 4-day school week. I myself have a daughter over at Serrano High School, sophomore. Audrey was just simply beaming when she got home, being able to see more of her classmates and friends at school yesterday. So she was happy to get back to 2 days a week, but she's simply ecstatic to be back for 4 days a week. So thank you for board for all of your efforts in supporting us in getting more kids back to school for a greater frequency. And then moving on to a big event, another big event in the theme of graduations. We have our adult education graduation taking place at Victor Valley College on June 4th, 4 o'clock start time. I promised Chad Brooks, the principal over at NTS, to try to solicit maybe a volunteer from our board to participate in that graduation. I don't know how many participants we'll have at this time, people that will choose to participate in the ceremony, but I'd love to get somebody on deck to do that so that I can reach out to him tomorrow to let him know that we have one of our illustrious board members willing to attend. Do we have anybody who would like to attend?
Alan Miller. I'm wondering if I can share with you some news for you already, and it's just sitting right to my right-hand side there. President Hernandez, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Holman. Dr. Holman reached out last week asking if I would be interested in attending that event, and I'm excited and eager to do that. So looking forward to June 4th.
Yeah, thank you. And I think we've got some competing situations. Former President Behringer, she's been kind enough to, and when she was in that role, to attend with me. And
it's a great event.
It is a wonderful event. It really is. And so the superintendents typically had brought their board presidents. And so I just continued that protocol there. So that's why we had already done that. I apologize that maybe there was another pathway working probably through the coordinators and the principal, Chad Brooks. So we should be good to go there. Thank you.
Excellent. And I'll just notify Chad tomorrow when I see him that President Hernandez will be standing in and representing the board. All right. Well, thank you. Moving on to the next item, real quick, just wanted to spotlight some of the great work that's been going on in our department. If you'll indulge me, I'm going to just share my screen really quick. Through the great collaborative efforts of Charlotte Eckenroth and Ashley Alvarado, they came up with this great infographic regarding our biliteracy program here in Snowline. They visually represented a pathway for biliteracy in our school district. And it's got some great information, some great data points here that spotlight the power of biliteracy, but also kind of shed light on the power of our reclassified English language learners, really them doing so well academically and actually outpacing our English-only students in both English language arts and mathematics. So there's some great things here. This will be in the Mountaineer Progress this coming Thursday. So be looking to pick up a copy of your paper. They're a great partner in education. They print out a monthly page for us, spotlighting a lot of the good work that's going on within our school district. And then Member Colomb it wasn't really appropriate during the time of the approval of those new Serrano High School classes earlier today, but I just wanted to let you know, because you've been such a champion of academics and AP courses, really beefing up that pathway. Serrano High School is looking at bringing AP chemistry back to the Serrano High School lineup in the 22-23 school year. As a result of some retirements and just finding creative ways to add that AP piece to our sciences. So we'll actually have AP in the big three science, being chemistry, biology, and physical science for physics. So we just wanted to make you aware of that.
That's great news, Alan. Thanks.
And yeah, once again, thank you for your advocacy there, because we're very excited as well. And it's a big machine over there, and we finally were able to move some parts around where we can make this coming year a recruiting year and training year for the next AP chemistry teacher. So thank you for your efforts in supporting that cause, and it's coming to fruition. And getting on real quick to my last item here, AB 104, Assembly 104. I believe that I might have shared a little bit about this with you. Forgive me if I haven't. But basically, it's an assembly bill that's sitting at the Senate right now. It's been sitting there since April 15th. But it is some legislation that would focus on both retention efforts and the ability of parents to request retention and to have a prescribed process for doing so. But on the other side of that legislation, there's going to be some legislation regarding flexibility and graduation requirements. And that, although that hasn't passed, it's anticipated it will pass. What I'm looking to the board, and I think Ryan will probably speak to this as well, but just to get your direction in getting us poised to be able to get out in front and to formalize something that may be needed as we close the gap and get closer to graduation, just to ensure that through a very, very, very challenging year for students, both academically and socially, that we can do what we need to do to support them to get across the finish line there. It's something that it could be dictated to us that we have to do that. And I think it's better to be proactive and get out in front. With that, I'll turn it over to Ryan real quick to share his thoughts on that, because we've been in discussion.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. You said that very well, and I'm just going to echo what he said. The board's history throughout COVID-19, and boy, using that term is a bit sad, right? That we've had a long enough time through COVID-19 to say our history, but you've been very supportive of granting grace, being exceedingly human through this, in service of the kids' best needs. And that's really what I think Alan just described very, very well. I appreciate him being very proactive and ensuring that if this does come to fruition, we said it just precisely the way it should be communicated, we may have to do what he talked about up there. I guess tonight we would love direction from all of you for us to use our best, again, back to that best interest comment here, right? What are the best interests of these students, and use that accordingly whenever that comes forward. You think about the timelines here, we're almost a month out from when this was introduced. It could happen after the fact, right? But like Alan said, if we get direction from all of you, we'll work directly with the schools and their administrators to make those decisions, which I think to this point, I think there's a great track record with their outstanding work to make certain that what is done on a temporary basis based upon, the conditions that we're faced with, but also, again, to support students for the reasons Alan said, these unprecedented times. So to President Hernandez, again, I know it's a bit vague, but we're just looking for the direction that you've given us before to say, keep the children in mind, make certain that we're doing best by them, given each circumstance. I hope that helps, Serrano.
Yeah, I totally appreciate that. And always, your recommendation, your team's recommendation, I hold it in high regard. So absolutely from my side, from the board consensus. Clerk Loom.
Definitely.
Yes, sir.
There we go.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. And again, I hope I just emphasize that, again, it's a collaborative effort, right? It's just not from this table. It's certainly more ourselves being a support to those at the leadership of the site and support the kids. So
Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Alan, for allowing me to speak to that.
All right. Thank you. And that's all I have for this evening. Thank you, President Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Zimmerman.
Thank you, President Hernandez. And I'm just going to echo what a few other people have said. Just an incredible, incredible thank you to the many, many people here in the Snowline community that have made returning to in-person learning possible through the cohorts, through extracurricular activities, then through 2-day hybrid and now 4-day hybrid, as we aim for, as I think, Dr. Holman laid out for us tonight, as we aim for reopening on Thursday, August 12th here in just a few months. And, we're excited about every time California Department of Public Health releases updated guidelines, making it safer and easier to have more things happen on campuses for students and with our staff. And just the good news outlook tonight that was shared, that it's coming. It is coming and we can't wait. And along with that, we've seen something this spring that I have not seen for a few years in my role of tracking enrollment, making enrollment projections for the district. And that since spring break, we have added 50 elementary students and 20 middle school students. And those are students that, if, we do our job and we keep those, we retain them and keep adding, those are kids that are going to be with us for a few years and they're going to grow with us, as they move from elementary to middle and middle to high school. So 70 new students in that elementary, or I should say we have more new students than that, but a net growth of 70 students in elementary and middle school since spring break, just here in the last 2 months. So we just want to continue to see that trend, and it's unique. It's that growth thus far has been higher on the west side of our district than on the city side, going out towards 395 and towards that east end. And I think it has a lot to do with just cost of housing and different things, but they're both growing. But it's interesting that the area on this side of the district where we are tonight hosting this board meeting has actually been growing at a faster pace over these last couple of months. So that's a great trend, and we're excited about that. And then just hearing different things that are said tonight about reopening school and great things going on campuses. And all of us, have spent the best parts of our careers on school campuses day in, day out with kids, and we all miss it tremendously. So, we just thank you to all the staff at school sites, from nutrition service, custodial, bus drivers, all of our classified staff, certificated staff, leadership, and then parents and students, just making the magic happen. It is incredible.
Very cool. Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Mr. Chacon.
Yeah, thank you, President Hernandez. Nothing from me tonight. Appreciate Rick Hernandez in the background being the one-man show this evening. Thanks, Rick. Hope everyone has a great night. Thank you, guys.
Very good. And we'll turn it over to you, Ms. Stapp.
I would just concur with everything that everybody has said about schools reopening. It's been amazing. I have had the pleasure of using my lunch hour to pick up one of my grandchildren, my granddaughter that attends Baldy Mesa Elementary. And yesterday when I picked her up, she was so lucky. I was the last car in line and the last student to get picked up. And she got in the car and I said, "So how was it?" And she said, "Grammy, I am so happy that we get to go to school 4 days a week. We have new kids in our class," and she loved it. And today I was the second to the last to pick up. So anyway, I just thank everybody.
Thank you very much. And finally, Dr. Holt.
Thank you, President Hernandez. I'm going to start 3 items here. I'll start with this first one that really dates all the way back to the beginning of my tenure in this role, and that was the commitment that you asked of all of us as an administrative team, that when we assess programs through that retirement process, that we look at all of those and then we make the decision collaboratively with those involved to ensure what's best for the system. And specifically, I want to talk about a pathway here and the work that we've done up at Serrano High School, and that's the child care pathway. In a unfortunately long period of time where we've had declining enrollment. It's great to hear what Dennis talked about just a moment ago, but a long-standing declining enrollment process across all grade levels. I'm not just talking about the high school, but across all grade levels. And also, as we well know, declining resources, specifically money. As we assess that child care program, and specifically in the career technical education. CTE is that acronym we use for that. We've determined through that work with Serrano High School that it is best that we consolidate our resources and use those fundings with less pathways so that we can continue to bolster those. And so again, that is our work that we're doing, and you've asked us to inform you when that's come up. Now, I want to share really clearly here that this by no means is a statement on the work that is done in the past, and particularly the teacher, Michelle Marquis, has served us tremendously well. We'll get to see her. I would hope she would come to our retirement celebration on June 8th. Little side note too, to speak to just how good she's been. She's being recognized as the CTE Teacher of the Year for Snowline at the Mountain Desert Career Pathway celebration that happens on May 19th. So I bring that up about Michelle, that very clearly this has nothing to do about her. It's all about the reasons that I just mentioned, and specifically that commitment to bolster our CTE programs with declining enrollment over the years, and that capacity to have a limited amount of resources in terms of money. We feel like this is the best move again after having worked with Serrano High School. Now, Dennis Zimmerman has worked real closely with this on this as well. Dennis, is there anything that you'd like to share beyond what I've already talked about?
Just a huge kudos to Michelle Marquis in growing that program and giving her all to that program. And in the time that I've been in HR, our enrollment has declined. We've declined by over 10% in enrollment at Serrano High School. And with that, we have really, in a lot of ways, added staff versus taken staff away in a lot of situations. And so, as you said, Dr. Holman, the retirement incentives, part of that is to help with the biggest of pictures. And so the thinning of this pathway in order to best target the dollars that are available is the right call, and I give kudos to Serrano's administration for supporting and leading this and working together on this endeavor.
Yeah, thanks so very much, Dennis. And so I would just really appreciate his comments and emphasize, I mean, in due time we can always revisit these things, but what he said when I tried to express, we really feel like it's the right decision. I also have to add that we informed Michelle Marquis, and boy, typical of her, just so professional. She understood, of course, why something like that would have to occur. So just wanted to inform you, like we've committed to as a team here, for all the reasons that Dennis expressed, as well as what I tried to. And again, a thank you to Serrano High School. You might wonder what happens with those students. Well, of course, that means that they, meaning administration, will go hard to work tomorrow morning, as we've informed all of you, to make sure that the kids get a second choice on their course requests. Make certain that they're placed in classes where they can continue their educational experience and segue into another pathway as is appropriate. So I share that with all of you. Secondly, want to bring attention to a fundraiser. We have all kinds of fundraisers. People might say, well, Ryan, why are you talking about this one? This is a region-wide fundraiser. And I think it stirs probably all of us here at this table, those of us who are joining us remotely here on the administrative team, as well as Clerk Colomb. And I'm going to guess anyone who lives within Snowline boundaries, and that's our competitive nature. Victorville Motors has put forth a virtual fundraiser. They've been a great partner for all of us when it gets the gas to go to class, as well as the Career Pathways event. Well, now in their great marketing, they have a virtual I guess I'd call it test drive, if you will. And so through Thursday, the high school, by virtue of virtual views, will earn $15,000 for that high school. I'm proud to say at the start of this meeting, President Hernandez, you had the numbers, and we were doing quite well. Do you want to speak to those numbers there? Because it's kind of fun to talk about. What do you say?
It is kind of fun to talk about. And I do want to say that I did my virtual test drive earlier, and I might have been sold on a Bighorn Dodge Ram truck. So we'll see what happens in the next 6 months. But it was nice to see the great participation. And just as he spoke, I pulled up the numbers again because I've just seen the numbers go up all day long. And presently, the three schools involved with this, Oak Hills, Hesperia, and Serrano. Oak Hills coming in at 93 participants, Hesperia at 229, and Serrano topping it out right now, 629. So just killing it. Thank you to everybody, but we can always use more. So keep it going.
Yeah, I think you said that very well there, President Hernandez. We could always use more. And so thanks to Robert Chacon, who has just taken on, he always takes on all kinds of duties whenever I ask, and he's been pushing this piece out. If you're wondering, how do I get to it? My letter that went out today, I send those out on Tuesdays and Fridays and other days as need be. My letter that went out today, there's the link attached to that letter. Gosh, you said it well. Let's get up to it, 4 figures. Let's get up to 1,000 by Thursday. So thanks so very much for putting that plug. And again, a big thanks to Victorville Motors, specifically Kevin Smiling, Veronica Parks. They are great partners. They're part of our Mountain Desert Economic Partnership too, that we talk a lot about. So we really thank them for being willing to offer up the chance at 15,000, which I think is going to be looking better and better after this meeting because of what you just said there, President Hernandez. Thank you. And then lastly, I'll just echo, everyone's said so many wonderful things about the 4 days in person. Board members, thank you. Thank you for supporting that effort. We talk about what's best for kids. I guess personally, I will say I feel like I saw what was best for kids yesterday and today being on campuses. So thank you for doing that. And this, I guess I'll just leave all of ourselves with something I say all the time, but I think just a reminder that might be needed for myself. And if you're one too, I certainly would say thank you. And that's being exceedingly human. Boy, we're getting down to the end here. And I say the end of a school year, but also quite possibly the end of the pandemic as we've known it for 14 months. And so I think the more that we can commit to being exceedingly human in all that we do, I think the better off we'll be. And it's really attached to our first core value. We remember the ending of that core value talks about ourselves caring for people, making certain we make all people feel like they matter, but also the best of humanity. And so now is, I think, the perfect time to make certain the best of humanity comes out so we can end this year in the best of ways for all of us adults, but most importantly, for all the children here that we call our students. So thanks, President Hernandez.
Thank you so very much. Okay, well, there being no further business to come before the board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move approval.
I was going to say everybody's very excited about this, and we're going to continue the meeting all night long. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Member Flores. A roll call vote. Member Flores.
Aye.
Member Behringer.
Aye.
Clerk Kalum.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for joining us again.
Yes, thank you.